What's up, Moto buddies? Mike here from Tacobout 25 500 EXCF, the king of dual sports. This is really the absolute apex of what a dual sport can be, what a KTM 500 can be. This is a fully taco built machine headed to Sweet Dude up in Reno, Nevada. And so we're down here in Las Vegas and just finished up this bike. It's ready to get on a transport truck and head north. Our build program includes sourcing bikes, transporting bikes, doing the break-in on the dyno, power numbers before and after all the mods, full build outs, full specs. We can accommodate any request that you have for any type of riding. In this instance, this is really like an omnisport. This machine is going to be capable of hitting BDRs, doing overland stuff. It's a wheelie monster, nearly 60 horsepower. This thing can handle single track, Baja. It's just, the concept is, what can you do on a motorcycle that doesn't include, okay, what are the limitations? People ask, what can I not? What am I not going to be able to do? What do I give up with a dual sport bike? Let me put some context to this. We were just at the Moto Dusty Lizard in Moab, Utah this last weekend, and had a chance to have some pretty long conversations with a few riders, vet riders. These are guys that are 55 to 70, I think early 70s in one instance. And I think I had easily 3 or 4 conversations. A couple of guys on GSs. One was on a big KTM 1290. So these are large adventure bikes. And what they're discovering is that they don't trust themselves being on those bikes out solo riding. They're worried about getting in over their head. They're also bummed that they're riding past trails that they would like to detour, take a little jog down. You know, they're a little bit more technical or challenging, say, than a bladed 2-track county road. Maybe it's a beat-in road that hasn't been maintained. It could be some little cow trail, maybe a little piece of single track. So they're intrigued, but unfortunately they're on a bike that doesn't allow them the opportunity to go explore that. They're also nervous and worried about being out on their own and tipping the bike over and not being able to pick it up, being injured and not being able to pick it up. So there's a lot of apprehension with that size of machine based on some of the physical limitations that they have. They also are super intrigued at the thought of having a bike that has a performance to weight ratio like this. You know, this bike right now as it sits is probably in the 275 range. I forgot to weigh this exact one before the video here, but generally by the time we're done, these bikes can gain about 10 pounds on average if they're really, really decked out. So like the single most heavy add-on for this bike is that tower. That tower adds, mass, the lights, the dual lights. There's more to that setup. There's more wiring on this bike. There are more accessory outlets, guards that weren't there in the stock form. So on average, we're adding anywhere from 10 pounds. Okay, so you take a bike though in stock form that might be 260 and you take it up to 270, 275. And you compare that to that 1290 that weighs, I don't know the exact weight. Somebody in the comments put it down for me, but I'm gonna guess that a 1290 or a GS is a 490 pound bike. It just seems like it's pushing 500 pounds. I think I've read that. Go ahead and, let me know what the real fueled, ready to ride weight of a GS or a 1290 is. So it's pretty obvious that somebody making I almost use the word downgrade. I don't think it's a downgrade at all. I think it's a lateral move in your sporting career, in your moto career, but to move from a GS to a 500, I think makes a lot of sense. And the more I talk to some of these riders, the more they sort of agreed. And I think we're gonna have a continued conversation with, for sure, one of them about the possibility of putting a bike together like this. So if you're the type of rider who has any of those concerns, like I just mentioned, this is this is the way to go. This is a bike that I ride, not this exact one here, but I ride a 500 and doing all those types of uses, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm gonna ride that 500 until I have to get around in a wheelchair. So what makes a taco build unique? What are some of the things that are special? What are some of the things that we make? We have innovated over the years working on these bikes, and especially with our build program. We might build 50, 80 bikes a year, And in doing that, we see these. Now, another thing that somebody asked me out at the event was, my local dealer, he has access to a lot of the same parts that we do, and that's absolutely true. So, if you wanted to get into it, see Concepts, you can order that from anywhere. You could buy that on Amazon probably. You can order these tires and the sprocket. And so as you go through this bike, there are things that you can find from other outlets, and that's entirely true. What makes the fact, or what makes it unique coming in, having Tacomoto do this and have us set this up is, and we've talked about this before, for example, on new bike acquisition, we can help you manage the purchase of the bike. We can get it to Vegas. We do engine break-ins on the dyno. Your local dealer may not offer that service. That, if you talk to anybody who is a high-level tuner or anybody who is a high-end race shop, they will tell you that having the engine broken in on a dyno is the premium way to do it. That is a absolute guaranteed gold standard way to break in a motor. We do that every bike, every time. We have power numbers that we provide for you before and after that is done. There are wiring accessories that we manufacture, that we have developed. There are things that we've innovated in the cockpit. We have our own tune, the Tacomoto tune, on our Get ECU system. That is something. Now, you don't have to just do a bike build to get that, but that's something that we integrate into the total package, as well as the suspension. So when we tune the suspension, we're tuning it specific to the rider, but also based on my unique goals and what I want in a bike, in a dual sport. Really, I'm sort of the picky customer. Anything that we've done, we've created, invented. I'm constantly chasing the ultimate bike. I'm forever in this endless quest of creating just the world's most perfect dual sport bike. I'm pretty obsessive about these things. I tell people all the time, I don't take myself seriously in terms of, and you can see that, like sometimes we have wild graphics packages. Our sticker swag is, pretty out there. We like to have fun. I tell people that, I'm a toy salesman. I sell motorcycles and toys for motorcycles to big children who are playing with their toys out in the sandbox that is this world. And so I'm a bit of a Willy Wonka, and I really should represent, having fun on dirt bikes and convey that. And I think that kind of comes across. But at the same time, I take what we do. So while I don't take myself all that seriously, I take what we do very seriously. We are absolutely obsessive about putting our bikes together, speccing them out, the way we build them, the craftsmanship that goes into them. We believe that we are setting the standard in the industry for bike builds, and then the products that we put on them and the products that we make, and then the partners that we choose to go on these bikes. So if you think that's a philosophy that meshes with you and your objectives for putting a bike together, then I would suggest that we're the first guys to talk to, and the guys that you want to get your bike out to. So enough of that. Let's talk about this machine here. This is a 25-500, and a 25 over a 24 because the fork guards are black. And 26, I haven't seen what color they are, and there's no mechanical difference between a 24, a 25, and a 26. They're all the same machine mechanically, other than some of the cosmetics, the graphics, and like I said, the fork guards happen to be black, but everything else is the same. So on this one, we have the Moto's Tractionator up front, and this has a tube in it, an ultra heavy duty tube. This is the 100 size, 90-100 size, which is like that's kind of generically known as the fatty size. And then we have a warp line titanium rim lock, and then wheel weights. We balance all our dirt wheels, front and rear, every single time. STR on the ultralight fork guard, or the rotor guard up there, and then on the fork guards, TM Design Works, and those have good coverage all the way across the bottom. And then up here, moving up, you'll see that we have with the rally tower, and we do this on a lot of the builds, we capture rally style. Any of the rally bikes you see will have a front flex for the brake hose, and we do that to keep this stationary. We don't want this brake hose to be slamming around up here, catching onto things, and so this captures it and sends it down out of the way, and it flexes up front. So the real showpiece here is this tower. Now this is made by our buddy Joe in Australia, and this is a Yencro branded tower. There's some special taco magic that we do to these when we get them, and some of the electronics, the way we power this, the accessory harness that's inside of there, that's all unique to us. We put a USB charger here, and then the key is over here. Here's your turn signal indicator. And then we have our Moto-minded tilt wedge, which kicks out the bracket for this is the Trail Tech Voyager Pro. And then here you'll see we've got the highway dirt bikes for the bar guards, and this all integrates together. And he's got the included mirrors that fold out. That's super cool. OD Rogue on the grips. This is our Tacomoto Slimline switch for the tidy tail. So our switch allows true off. It doesn't turn on the high beam light. And then it has the slim tail down here. This is turn, run, and brake all in the same, all in one, so 3-in-1. And then the enduro plate is the headlight, well, not the headlight, the license plate bracket here at the end. So if we look over here, Graves on the slip-on, that is, in our opinion, probably the best muffler for a dual sport. It has a great tone, great sound. It's not obnoxious. You should wear earplugs when you ride anyway. However, if you needed to run down to the corner store without your earplugs, you'd be okay. It's not going to have you go deaf in your right ear. It has great power delivery down low, very smooth. It has an ultra silent, well, I don't know about ultra silent, Pro Motobill it calls, there's the ultra silent. But the insert here has a spark arrestor, and it does a great job of toning down the sound. It has a very, very predictable feel to the power on the bottom end. It's not snappy or lurchy or harsh. Unlike some of the motocross mufflers that are out there, this has just a great set of attributes and qualities that we find to be exactly what you're looking for when you're a vet rider on a dual sport bike. It's super premium too, titanium, and they don't skimp on their titanium. That is to say, some of the air quote titanium mufflers may have some titanium components to them, but stainless steel. So like here, the strap band is stainless. I'm sorry, this is titanium. The collector here on the bottom is titanium. The only thing stainless about this is the through tube, and anybody's muffler is going to have a stainless steel through tube. So this is a true work of art, and it's also, like I said, they don't cut any corners when they claim titanium. And it's expensive. You pay for that. It's probably one of the most expensive mufflers. It's an absolute premium choice, but we think it's worth it. On the rear, Moto's Tractionator, that's the ST and the 130 size. And again, balanced, and then the rim lock. Dirt tricks on the sprocket there. You'll see that on the other side. STR for the shark fin, and a chair bees for these guards here. Now, a quick word about the swing arm guards. We really recommend swing arm guards on the 24 Generation Plus, on the new style, new chassis bikes. The material of the swing arm is ultra thin, and we have not personally seen, I have not seen anybody pop a hole in them, but I've seen multiple pictures on the interwebs, so it's a thing. You really have two good choices for the shields. You could go with the Acerbis, so these are gonna be really light and very easy to install. And so these are a light to medium duty guard. And if you're heavy duty, hardcore, hard enduro, you can upgrade from this to the crosslink components, which are really the premium ultra hard enduro guards. Only penalty there is weight, but they are just completely bulletproof. I have those on my personal bike because I have a hard enduro 350 that's set up, and so on a typical build, unless somebody's going to go and do some hard enduro type extreme riding, these are acceptable. Let's see, suspension, we already talked about that. That's been completely redone by us. And then we throw on an X-Trig there. That way you can change your preload in the rear. If you throw some bags on there, put some Moscow bags and go overlanding. We do some heat shielding here to keep the heat out of the shock. And our testing has shown anywhere from about 150 to 200 degrees of heat reduction that does not go into the shock and into the oil. Down there you see the horn, that's been relocated. We get it off the radiator guards. And then this little guy over there, you'll see that, well, I'll show you on the other side what that is. Recluse CX clutch, that's the latest. I think they call that the 4, CX4. Fabulous, Recluse is great. Anybody who tells you otherwise hasn't ridden one, and if they don't like it, that just means their riding style doesn't work with the clutch, the Recluse. But I put the Recluse, it's really like a talent extender. I don't have the type of talent that, let me say it like this. I ride with Dave Wonderly, and who else do I ride with? I ride with Scott Harden and Rodney Smith. I ride with guys who are in the AMA, Hall of Fame. And the only way, and a lot of hard enduro guys, and the only way I can even pretend to try to ride with them and maybe even keep up a little bit is if I have talent extenders. And so things like the Get ECU with traction control, the Enduro map, or Recluse clutch. I have a left-hand brake on my bike. There are certain things that really, and my suspension on my bike is just absolutely, dialed and optimized. So I can use those enhancements on my machine to add to the meager talent that I have to extend my talent, push me to a higher level than I really have capability for. They also allow me, at my age, I'm 53, climbing up to 54, I can ride a 6, 8, 10-hour day and just not be completely gassed out because the bike is working so well under me and it's helping me rather than hindering me. So when somebody turns their nose up at a Recluse, let them. I proudly say I run it on all my bikes, and I am happy to have it on all my bikes. So there's just a quick little rant about that. P3 on the guard, so you don't melt your pants across the exhaust intermediate pipe right there. Molecule skid plate. The weight to strength ratio is really good, which is one of the reasons why we like this. Great styling, good water pump protection, made in the USA. I think that's a nice item to have on your bike. Let's see, we got a heat shield here over the coolant hose as it goes across that very hot exhaust manifold right there. Just kind of rounding things out. The Acerbis, this is the bigger one. So this is the 4 point something gas tank. I never remember what the sizes are, but that's the larger of their gas tanks. Got the vent hose here. On the rider's cockpit, we have the Scott stabilizer, and then a little clean speed bracket here that holds cables. And just kind of looking to see if there's anything else. This is the Moto start stop kill switch, and it has very good tactile feel. It is a huge improvement and upgrade over the OEM switch, which have been faulty. There have been some failures on those. We have not had, I don't think I've ever had a warranty claim on that switch, not one time. I don't think we've even had somebody break one and had to warranty it out. If you know Tacomoto, you know about our legendary warranty. We had a rider smash, it was his fault, and he wrote in and sent us a picture and said, hey, I crashed, my bad, can I order a new switch? And we sent him one on us because we have such an ironclad reputation with our warranty. Dingo on the fork guards, and this is the upper and lower. These are polycarbonate, they are formed. They have the little energy dispersing ribs in here. This is really the hot ticket for fork guards. And then Canyon Dancers, these things are where we tie down our bikes and cinch them down. We have the Emperor radiator guards right here. These are really the premium radiator guards. I know there's fancier ones out there. I know that the cool kids run cool looking stuff. We're not about what looks cool. We're about what works good and will keep us from having to tow a bike out of the Idaho backwoods. And these have never let us down, and I have never had a single customer write in with a DNF or a tow out with the Emperors. If you ask me privately, I will tell you what radiator guards have let people down. I hate to talk negative about any products out there. I'd rather talk positive about the ones that really do work. And these are the radiator guards that we use and we recommend. Let's see, the Acerbis on these fork gators here, these keep the mud and goo from getting up on your fork seals. And we've almost, I think maybe I could say with some confidence that we have pretty much eliminated fork seal blowouts with those. I can't think of a single one of our fleet bikes that have had any fork seals issues since we've been running those for the last few years. Just to point out here, we take the Speedo off of the top in the normal position and then we relocate it there. And then one thing, if you see this little brass connector, that is for the Voyager Pro. That's the buddy system, the little antenna. We remote mount that, and so that's hidden away. And behind here we have electronics for power accessory. We have two different types of accessories. We have ones for battery hot, so battery at all times, like a direct battery connector. And then we have another one for engine on signal. These two lights here are diode dynamics. One is a low beam, and that's a wide flat, and that's a spot on the top. Those lights do a pretty good job. One side note about the lights, I'll tease you a little bit. We have Ruby Lights, who really are on the cutting edge of lighting technology. right now they're doing the most innovative things that anybody's doing out there. They're spending huge amounts of time and money and effort to really come out with some cool stuff. And Eric has some new lights that will be a massive upgrade, and look for those soon. Just a brief little teaser about some exciting stuff coming. That's all I can say about that. BRP, I forgot that. That's the bracket here that holds all this together. And we like the soft polymers over the hard ones, which are the red ones. We like the blue ones. They're a little softer, easier on your hand. I think that's, I'm gonna pull the seat here in a second and show you under that. Maybe these turn signals, these are our tacobout turn signals. They have a white, very, very bright, super visible run light, and then they have a yellow cascading turn signal function that is pretty trick. Let's see, just a couple of quick things on this side, I guess, to wrap up, and then we'll do the seat, and then we'll shut this thing down. So this is the Golan fuel filter. That's inline, and that replaces the little small tiny cloggable cone filter. We yank those on every bike, and we run these Golans. Tacomoto on the static magnetic oil filter, and then here's that SAE plug. That's for your battery tender. We also, on our electrical system, have a ground, an engine ground. The engine is not grounded on these KTMs. It's grounded through the frame bolts, but we've had in the past, in the many years past, a bike every now and then that will have really weird phenomena, issues, and it ends up chasing down to a subframe or chassis to engine grounding issue. And so we just jump over any possibility of that, and we put a ground there on our harness. We'll pop seat, taking a look under here. We talked about seat concepts, gripper top, carbon sides, and this is this looks like a low. Yeah, I think this is a low. So that's a low seat. That is gonna be a little bit lower than the stock, and then you have a tall. You can get these, so 3 different sizes, and then 2 different widths. Well, 3 different widths. You can get the narrow width, which would be like the motocross size, and then this is the standard, so they just call that the comfort. Super nice on the tush, cush on the tush. And then the one I like, because I'm just, I guess, old and soft, hard to say that out loud, hear myself say it, but I like the XL size. I was at Moab, like I said, at the Dusty Lizard, and we did Pritchett Canyon, which is pretty extreme, I think. Maybe not. Some of you hard enduro guys will laugh at that. You have a good chuckle. But for an old guy, it's a little rough and tough. And I was running the 350 with the XL, and it was the first time I'd done a hard enduro section like that with a wide seat, and I was a little worried that it was gonna be getting in the way of some of that downhill stuff. It didn't at all. So there's just a word about the XL. If you're sitting on the fence between the standard comfort and then the XL, I like the XL. Get ECU, we talked about that. This looks like the stock battery. A lot of these bikes end up going with the anti-gravity 8 cell. Stock is a 23, 24 watt hour battery versus like a 56. So if you're going into the deep backwoods, you might want to consider nearly doubling your energy storage capacity with that battery upgrade. And then we talked about our harness kit. Here's that positive wire that goes to the battery. And so what that does is it, through our electronics here, and then sending the master signal up here to the headlight and then the taps, you don't have to have 10 different things connected to your battery. You just add this, and then that gives you a starting capacitor, which is located over there on the other side. And then this is relay controlled through the ECU, and then we have fuses here that run all that, and that just not only tidies up your electronics, but then gives you extra capacity that you don't have otherwise. This air filter has a PC Racing filter skin over it, and we really love these, and we oil them, and then we'll go on long multi-day rides, and instead of having to change a filter every day or every other day, you just pull this thing off here, and then you'll have a perfectly clean, I did that in Moab on day 2, just a nearly clean filter underneath a very dirty saturated filter skin. And we have the twin air, the filter cage here, which means no flex at all to your filter. And then, yes, it does not have a screen, but do not believe or listen to the people who say that removing the back fire screen on a filter cage gives you any power. That's a myth. It does not. And we don't use these because it doesn't have a screen. We use this because it's metal. And then you don't have to grease your filters when you have a PC Racing. This is the base gasket. It's like a neoprene sticker. It's like a wetsuit material that goes all the way around, and you have an absolute guaranteed connection to between your filter and then your air filter body. So that's a great upgrade. I think that's pretty much a wrap on this bike. Maybe just one last thing my eye saw here is this side vent. The side vent lets you, and we cap the top here, and so now you can run like a tank bag if you're gonna have a tank bag on top of there. Moscow has a few good ones, especially the one with the water bladder feature in it. That's kind of a cool way to go. So there it is. That's a bike that is just absolutely stunning. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I would take this bike right now and I would ride. There's not a single ride that I would not do on this bike, with the exception of ultra hard enduro, because a 500 is just a lot of power to manage and feather through really technical riding. And while I've done it, I just anymore would rather ride my 350 for the hardest stuff, and then anything beneath that, I would jump on this bike. And maybe just to finish out, we started talking about what shouldn't you do or what can't you do really well on this bike. Really the only thing would be long highway transits. That's where your twin cylinder bike or like a 690 would eclipse the capabilities of this bike, because this is a single cylinder thumper without a really significant counterbalancer. Yes, it's counterbalanced, but it does not do the best job, because this bike is about performance and efficiency, not comfort. And so if you need highway cruising comfort, this is going to disappoint you a little bit, because it is a performance oriented single cylinder 690. The 690, 700, 701 class bikes might be something to look at. Those add weight and complexity, but they are very smooth and comfortable on the highway. So that would be like that ultra choice for a single cylinder. If you needed highway, let's say you're a rider and you absolutely had a high level of, one of your requirements was you needed to go 90 miles an hour for hours at a time. This is not the bike for you. This bike will go 65 miles an hour for hours at a time, but you will have to stop. I stop. I get about 45 minutes to an hour in, and I need to stop and shake out the kibbles and bits and just kind of I need to shake my wrists out and just move around, because it is a little numbing for those long highway sections. It's not a highway bike, but it will do it. So that is probably the one limitation, is those highway transit sections. We do all we can to try to eliminate that. The seat concepts will do a good job of that. We have on some bikes, not this one because this has the big bolt threaded and tapped into the end, but on some bikes we use the Fast Company flex inserts, and those do a good job with helping dampen out vibes. You could even upgrade from this to the Moto 360, which will do an even better job. You could even do different bars. These are the stock neck and bars, which are really stiff. They're great for crashing, but they're really stiff. They don't impart much flex out into the hand area. You could do the Pro Grip Rally foam grips. So there's just other things you can do if vibration minimization was an absolute necessity for you, like a high value thing. Also Motion Factory Pro foot pegs, which provide really good foot damping. So anyway, I could talk about dirt bikes for hours. Haha, that's what we do. So if you have any other questions about this or any bikes, or doing a bike build, or doing a bike build in a box, there's plenty of riders out there. I don't get to make videos for all the bikes that are built out there, because we've mailed them. Everything on this machine we could put in a box and we could send it to you, and you could build this bike yourself in your garage, or your mechanic could do it, or you and your buddies could do it. So whatever your needs are, hit us up, let us know. Happy to help. Like, subscribe, go out, get some adventure.